Living a Healthy Life with your hosts, Ipek and Craig. The show which explores simple things we can do to feel better today than we did yesterday.
Bringing you the most up-to-date information is our mission. Each week, we'll explore different ways to make today the best day of your life.
With me as always is my beautiful bride, Ipek, and my name is Craig. It's all happening this week on Living a Healthy Life. Welcome to Living a Healthy Life. As always, my name is Craig, and I'm here with my beautiful bride, Ipek.
Hi, everybody.
And we have some guests today in the studio that I cannot wait for you to meet. I'm going to set the tone, the time, and the place. Today, our guests are the three hosts of the Life Changes show, the Life Changes Network, and most recently, the Life Changes Foundation. And I think living a healthy life speaks volumes to life is always changing. Today, we're going to dig deep into mental health with a little twist. We are sitting at a lunch break at the Konakai Resort in the beautiful San Diego Shelter Island. And we're at a lunch break for the recalibration workshop that these beautiful souls are hosting. And we are so happy to be checking out for a couple days here to work on our mental wellness and our mental health. Right?
That's right, yeah. These last day and a half, it's been a wonderful experience sharing space with amazing people in the room. I've already learned so much about myself and just sharing stories and being vulnerable in front of a group. I think there's so much power behind that, and I want to thank you guys for creating this environment for us to be able to do that. And something from the workshop, the four simple questions that we're answering: the who, what, when, where. I guess there's more than four. How and why. 6 questions. Just one word, and we've been talking about it for hours, going deep, and there's so much that's coming up. It's been a pleasure.
So with that, let me introduce you to the 3 people that we have in our studio today, or I should say our boardroom today. Filippo Voltaggio, Mark Lejour, and Dorothy Donahue. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And congratulations on the show.
Thank you very much.
Exciting.
Thank you.
I remember, what was it, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that we were on your show.
Right.
I should say the we is really Ipek and Dad.
Yeah.
And Ilhan were on the show.
Shout out to my dad.
Hello, Ilhan. So let's jump right into it. Maybe one of you guys can share with us really what this weekend is all about, what it means for you as facilitators to now deliver. This is the 3rd or 4th time that you've done this in a group setting.
Oh, well, many more than that, actually. And but I have to say, this is the first time I thought of this. You said something about checking out, and so I thought, oh, that's interesting. Check out and check in.
Right.
Right? You kind of check out of the world and the life that you thought you've been living in, and you check into yourself and how you really felt about all that.
Yes.
This is new. Thank you. That's inspired that.
What's really exciting, and this is of course the first time that we're going through this type of weekend, and Ipek and I, we make sure we take time out to speak with one another, to speak with others, to get other people's input and perspective, and that's really what so far this weekend has been for us. Sitting in group, working individually on ourselves, and then speaking about that with a group. Very powerful message to check in. And as you'd mentioned, 4 simple questions that we went through yesterday, and you made 8 hours on 4 questions. It was phenomenal.
Well, you did. We all went so deep.
Yes,
it's amazing to have people really check in, to use that phrase, and what comes up is amazing. And so the recalibration really started many decades ago, individually with each of us, Dorothy on her path and Mark on his, and I on mine. And then when the 3 of us met and came together and started to work with each other and help each other along this path. And so questions came up along the way, like, why do you think that is? Or how did that happen? And who do you think you are in that scenario? And who do you think you were in that situation? And maybe what ends up happening is maybe we're having the best life we could possibly have.
Yeah.
And we didn't even know it because we thought it was supposed to be like this, and we thought we were supposed to be that way and over there, and maybe here's pretty good, if not maybe the best.
Exactly where we need to be.
What did we say yesterday, right? If we all walked up and threw all of our stuff into a pile, all of our issues, all of our everythings into a pile, chances are we'd take our own stuff back.
Yeah.
Maybe this is exactly what it should have been or could have been. Oh, I just shit on you.
Yeah. Stop shitting.
It's been a very interesting weekend, and there's been a lot that came up. Anything, Dorothy, Mark?
I think that this class should be a fundamental class. It should be taught in school. And I know that if people had asked me earlier, who are you? How are you? Why are you who you are? I've asked, because I've made every less than elegant choice possible, some of them many times over, and I asked myself when I took this course, what were you thinking? And the answer was, I wasn't.
To use your, where we start out with the checking in and checking out, it was interesting because I recalibrated that we are all Hotel California.
Oh.
And oftentimes tempting to check out, but you can never really leave.
Nice.
You can't run away from yourself.
That's
True
right.
inner
Wherever you
checking
go,
in
there you
internally.
I love that.
Yeah.
You guys have seen a lot of people come through the Life Changes show, your own radio show. And when does that, just so if folks do want to catch you, when can they catch that show now?
Well, live it's every Monday night, and it's on the BBS Radio Network, but going to lifechangeshow.com is the easiest way to catch it. And however, all of our shows are already archived for 8.5 years now, and so there's a lot of information.
410 of them.
Yeah, a lot of information there.
Outstanding.
We're looking forward to our 410th episode
Yes,
as well.
indeed.
Here.
Why don't you invite us back for
We
that?
will.
I like that.
I love
410.
Celebrate.
Mark that.
Yeah.
Mark that. 410. We'll put links up on our Facebook page so that everybody can get back to you and make sure they know where to find you. This is something that I've been listening to since I've known about it, since Mark shared it with me. There's lots of tremendous insight that comes from the guests that you have on that show, the Q&A, the musical guests. There's really quite a bit to the show itself, and we really want to make sure that people tap into that and have it as a part of their life.
So many great people, and this is the thing too. Not any one person has the answer for everybody, right? So I like what you all are doing too, because there's so many ways we can look at health. There's so life changes. There's so many ways we can look at our lives, and different people are focused on different paths, and they'll share their path, and it'll enlighten or enrich or at the very least entertain us as we hear about it.
Well, that's the collective consciousness that we're all co-creating simultaneously all the time.
There you go.
It's interesting to tap into that, right? Very powerful to tap into that. And hearing these stories and the folks that you interview and the folks that you talk to, just asking the questions of, where do you come from? Tell me, what do you do? What have you done? Where have you done it? When did you do it? Asking those questions, and even in the recalibration and in this weekend, we're in groups of 4 or 5 people. The synergies that align in our pasts, yes, we are all one and we are all connected, and I can gain from what others have been through, what got them here and the decisions that they made to get them here. Very powerful. Another thing that I took from this weekend is to make sure I'm sitting and talking with my friends, and the power that comes from the deep conversation of deep diving below the surface of the what'd you do last week or what'd you do, and really getting into why and where and asking deeper questions. Very powerful.
On that note, I think that's the thing that sets us apart a little bit in the way that the three of us, Dorothy, Filippo, and myself, interact. And that now with you and as you were saying, that the community that we've cultivated and are co-creating together, rather than just being reactive, like most people live their lives, and stuff happens and they react to it, and then they go and do something else and they react to that. We're C-active. We actively look at what we're doing.
Hashtag C-active.
We watch ourselves, like TV shows at times, whether it's an uncomfortable situation or not. We've watched it, we explore it, and we talk about it, we share, like Felipe was saying earlier, Dorothy. To pay attention and then to bring it to our friends and to be able to integrate and learn. It goes back to, what your show is about, living a healthy lifestyle and, mental health, mental well-being, and brain food, it's just as important as anything we're doing for our physical bodies.
Yeah.
Dorothy says she thinks this is a class that, and we all agree, that should be taught in school. That should. Sorry.
Encouraged to.
Will be.
It will be.
I
Exactly.
love that. I love that.
And when Dorothy was saying that, I was thinking, it could be called U101.
Totally.
Right? I mean, it gets down to the basics of you.
Yeah.
We are spiritual beings in a meat suit, right? If you subscribe to that, having a human experience, and we're all having that same human experience, reacting to the environment that's around us, recalibrating how you react to that environment becomes something that's very powerful. And I've seen it in the room in people that haven't done this before. This is something that Ipek, this is work that we're familiar with. I remember back to the first time we did this work. And if there are folks that are listening to us, and I know that they are out there, if you've simply been reacting to your life, you can take control of those thoughts. You can take control of that perception of what has happened and why it's happened. Something that came up in a group today is looking back through that lens and changing the lens you're looking through. And is it the same outcome? Do you emotionally feel the same way that you did when you just experienced it?
Right.
And changing that, very powerful. We're going to continue this conversation. We're going to take a quick break here from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
HealingOils.love is the place for doTERRA certified pure therapeutic grade essential oils.
Essential oils have been used throughout history in many cultures for their medicinal and therapeutic benefits. Learn about how you can use essential oils every day to maintain a healthy lifestyle and keep your family operating at its highest potential.
Join our communities on Facebook and Instagram at HealingOils.love for tips and recommendations on how you can begin using doTERRA essential oils today.
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Part 2 after the break. We're still here with Filippo, Mark, and Dorothy. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you for having us.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about the Life Changes show, the Life Changes Network, the Life Changes Foundation. And we're talking about how life changes and what the work that you guys have done with your show and with your clients on working through those changes. If there's one constant, it's that things change. There's certainly a lot of change going on right now, though we're not going to necessarily jump into that, although that's a slippery slope, and maybe we do need to jump into that.
There's so much change taking place this weekend. It's been absolutely amazing to see the breakthroughs. And people resist change more than anything. So there's a lot of resistance that has been broken through. You used the word react several times. I used to react. And through my relationship with these two, I have learned to respond rather than react. And it has changed my life. So I'm very grateful to both of them. I used to react, didn't I?
I think we all did a little bit more reacting than we do responding now. It's certainly something that I've learned. And I didn't grow up in that environment. I grew up in a reactive environment.
So did I.
Engaged environment.
So for our listeners, what is the difference between reacting and responding in your eyes, Dorothy?
Reacting is when you find yourself getting very angry and just going into an old program because of something that happened when you're young, instead of realizing that we don't know why they said what they said. We just go into reaction to it. Responding is like, wow, I wonder what side of the bed they got up on this morning. Or what is this bringing up in them? What am I reminding them of? And lots of times we remind each other of other people in less than pleasant situations.
That's C acting again, right? So taking a moment to look and to look at something beyond your reaction, beyond your energy or the trigger or the repetition of a certain relationship way, to respond to it.
And what I'm sensing in what both Mark and Dorothy just shared, instead of reaction, responding to a situation, I'm hearing an underlying. I'm hearing the underlying responsibility, taking responsibility for your actions and
Nice.
the way that you present yourself to another human being.
Well said. Well said. Yeah,
And
coming
that-
from a place of compassion.
And that comes up in the recalibration, because when we look back and so did somebody did something to me, and then we look at, well, who were we in that situation when so did that? And what did we do? How did we maybe provoke it, or what was our reaction to it? Right? Did we respond? And what was our takeaway at the time? So with the recalibration, we develop tools to be able to go back and look at some of those situations and say, oh, well, I didn't have the tool for this, and that person certainly didn't have the tool for that, so it was a disaster in the making.
Yeah.
And now I look back and say, okay, well, I'm not that person anymore. I don't have to worry about it. Or I still get into these same kind of relationships, or this still happens to me, so what tools can I use so that in the future this doesn't have to happen?
Some of those changes being major changes,
Yeah.
some of those changes being very subtle changes.
Yeah.
Navigating through that and recognizing it brings a lot of the perspective, right? That shift in perspective can be subtle or it can be broad.
Well, like happens in group, this is why I encourage all my life coaching clients to come into group and do the recalibration weekend intensive, because what invariably happens is in the group will be somebody who's feeling the exact same way, or who had a similar experience but reacted to it differently or responded to it, and then the person could say, when they hear that side of the story, it's like, oh, I did the other thing and that works better, I like it, or something like that. Or in the case of one particular experience where somebody was sharing in the group that you were in, Craig, where you said, wow, have you noticed this guy's words? You know, the words that he's using are so powerful, and yet they're powerful against him.
Yes.
And he hadn't noticed that.
Yes. We're going to have an entire show, and I shared this with this gentleman as well. We're going to have an entire show on language and the power of the language that we use. Pointing it out, it's something that as Ipek and I prep for this show, we're more and more aware of the words that we use and the words that are used around us and their meanings, even on a subconscious level.
You should be.
What I love about that is I teach an energetic alchemy course, and I pass out this blue sheet, is what people call it. And the last four are the Don Miguel Ruiz 4 agreements, and one is be impeccable with your word. So last night I was trying to get my laptop to work, and I used words I hadn't used in a long time. And my roommate said, what happened to your impeccability? And I said, thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I believe that it's our thoughts and our words that create our reality and our actions and the steps we take. But it all begins in our thought process.
We're also listening to ourselves. So you're saying these things, and it's one thing that you're saying and voicing these words to someone else, but there's no separation. Your subconscious hears this from the first person. It doesn't define between you or me, right? So when you're saying these things, you got to think about, is it something that you would want said to you? Are those words of value to your own being, to your own welfare?
The words that we use create that perception of our reality, especially when we're describing past events. Without jumping too much down the content for that show, it's worth mentioning the words you use to construct and talk about your past create how you feel about that past. You change your words, you change your life, change that experience.
I was actually just about to say that in one of our group breakout sessions that we had yesterday when we were focusing on the word when. One of the things that is resonating more and more, just kind of I see the words in front of me. When I change my language, I change my life. I think it's so powerful. We are all work in progress, Doesn't matter what age you are, where you are in your life, there's always more room for growth. And I can see how I would love to be in this recalibration workshop again and again and again, because we are, change is something that we are a bit resistant to. But opening up into that field and being vulnerable, it's not a sign of weakness, but rather it's actually a big sign of courage. And I'm proud to be vulnerable in front of people and share, this is my experience, and have powerful people in front of me acting as holding a mirror and being a reflection and saying, that's the difference between the first person and the third person. When I say the words that I'm saying from my perspective, I'm only hearing it from my perspective, my reality. So,
outside of, not necessarily outside of, this dovetails onto it. You guys are all coaches, right? You all work with folks on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I want to share with our listeners, or if you can share with our listeners, the power of having a coach and what that means to you and what that means for your clients. Because to a lot of people, that's not something, I know, knowing our listener base, that's not necessarily something that they're experienced with or aware of. You might for a sports team. However, in life, what does that mean, and what power can that bring to somebody?
It's interesting. So many people know that they're sports coaches, and they take that for granted. It's like, well, if you want to be a good baseball player or football player, you need a coach, and you need a good coach. And what does a coach do? The coach watches him run, or watches the player pass, him or her, watches, whatever it is, kick or whatever. And, this could be higher, this could be lower. You might want to strengthen this leg or something like that, because they're outside watching the player go through the motions, right? And so a good coach in life, it's like, sports is very important. But how much more important is sports than our whole life, right? And so by sharing what we do with our coaches when we have a life coach, and having the coach, a good coach, sit there and be able to watch like how you just punted your career, right? You might want, right? Or you just kicked your relationship out of or hit the relationship out of the
proverbial park.
Right. Right. So the coach can watch all this, listen to all this, and say, have you considered this? Or you might want to consider this, or here's a tool that may help with that. And it's exciting because you watch people's lives literally unfold, and especially through the questions like come up in the recalibration. And those who can't afford a one-on-one, this is coaching.
Absolutely.
This is coaching, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is when someone's in a place of needing help and they're surrounded by people that are in the same mindset, but yet they go to their friends for advice. So they're getting advice from the people that are in the same mindset.
Yes.
Coaching is oftentimes finding a friend, but a friend that has a different mindset, that's already lived it, or that has already changed it, that has already grown from it. Until you start to cultivate, as we were talking about, and a community around you that is now in a new mindset, so you can continue to volley back and forth. So it's a good way to break old habits and break old paradigms.
Very well said.
So many people believe that they are victims. I used to have a PhD in victimhood and a master's in pity me until I began to take responsibility for my choices. And so I loved what you said about responsibility a while ago. And it's so important to have someone outside of your story to hear you and to say, have you ever looked at it this way? And that's what's so beautiful about this weekend is that they're in the different groups. People thought or were in their stories about, I had a horrible mother and father, blah, blah, blah. And then the next one says, and they realize that maybe that's a program that has been running for a long, long time, and that their parents were only doing what they'd been taught. And I've had people in my group that say, wow, I'm so glad I'm here because I realized that my story's not that unique, and I can change it. I love it.
We all have similarities. Ipek, you were saying in one of the groups, and it was so well place that we're all reflections, and there's something that resonates in everyone's story. And the more we opened up to that, the more that, you know, our kind of parallel paths or our reflections, you know, became even more evident.
Yeah, I would say in the last several years, as I have started on this journey of looking inside of myself to truly understand who am I, what is my purpose, what are my goals, what am I here put on this planet to achieve and share with others. One of the things that keeps coming up to me is that the universe is on my side. The universe is not happening to me, it's happening for me.
Perception.
You know, the perception
Nice.
is that 1 degree shift in your perception changes everything.
One of my favorite sayings is, the universe is always working in my highest and best good first, and then in the highest and best good of all others. Always both, and always in that order. And once I got that, my life changed.
Exactly, yeah.
One of the things that I've been hearing a lot throughout, well, all of the recalibration weekends that we've done, is people feel like they have found family. And the interesting thing is it's in part because they feel like they have found people that heard them and understood them and potentially had something to share that already helps now, but also they've gotten something, somebody has said something that has helped them. And so I like what Mark said in tying this all in. So when I first started coaching, I called myself Life Friend because I couldn't relate to the coach, and I thought, if we had friends like my friends, you know, like Dorothy and Mark, like they're my friends, and we do business together, and if I have something going on, they'll either bring it up before maybe I notice it sometimes, or I'll come to them, and they walk me through it, talk me through it, and they're very wise. Now, we don't all have these kinds of friends, right? So. And I know you two do, and we're right back at you, right? Yeah. So if we had those kinds of friends, I would say we wouldn't need psychologists, you know, we wouldn't need life coaches. And if we had community, if we had some of our elders still in community with us, wise ones, right? Where we could say, Grandma, this happened today, or Grandpa, this happened today. And so one of the things that people also get through the recalibration is they're sitting around a table, or they're sitting around couches, and they're talking like maybe families used to, that now maybe they can't afford to, or families are smaller, whatever it is, or broke. So we're community, like it's an instant community, and we talk.
Recommunication.
Yeah. And what I'm taking from the recalibration weekend is, well, one of the things I'm taking, we all came into this room yesterday morning as kind of strangers, you know? And after just spending just 2 days, I mean, short amount of time where we all really got deep, and we were all kind of, you know, took our masks off and was vulnerable and shared stories from our past and things that were maybe coming from a place of sadness or hurt or anger. And we're going to be leaving at the end of today as a soul family. So come in as strangers, leave as soul family. And I have started these relationships that I know will carry on.
It's also the power of the group environment. There are people that are sitting around this room that I know I will be connected with for the rest of my life, and I'm going to make sure that they know before they leave that they can call me anytime. The same offer that we extended out to anybody that's listening to us right now. If you need help, you reach out to us, you connect to us on our Facebook page, and we will be there for you. So if you need help, you need somebody you can reach out to, we'll be there for you.
Yeah, and I want to thank you guys, all three of you, for creating this space and putting so much love and compassion and energy and knowledge and wisdom into this container for all of us to be able to show that vulnerability. So, you know, at the end of the day, we're all soul family. We're not strangers anymore.
I hope. Indeed. I want to say thank you for being with us. Our time has come. This is not the last time that we will speak on the air, and it's certainly not the last time that we will speak in general. We're going to have you back before 410.
Definitely. We got a little ways to go there.
Before 410. That's 4 years away. That's too far. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for being here. You can find us on Facebook at the Life Change. No, We can find you guys on Facebook at The Life Changes Show. You can find us at livingahealthylife.today, www.livingahealthylife.today, or on Facebook at livingahealthylife.today. And we'll see you next week. Thank you.
We'll see you next week with
Thank
love and
you.
gratitude.
With love and gratitude.
Thank you, thank you.
İpek Design is a collection of handmade accessories crafted with love and intent. I create each unique piece, setting forth an intention to bring positive energy to the recipient. As I design in my various collections, I charge my creations with positive affirmations for abundance, prosperity, and happiness. Please visit my website, www.ipek.design. You can also find me on Instagram at İpek Designs. Remember, maintaining positive energy is the essence of true happiness.